You're standing at a crossroads. A path forks in two directions and you're overcome with a peculiar kind of paralysis. This, you think, is a momentous decision. The one on the left leads to security, to the known, to what everyone expects of you. The one on the right, that one is misty. It's uncertain, perhaps it's foolish, but it has a strange kind of pull, a sort of music to it. And you are stuck, because you are terrified, absolutely terrified of making the wrong decision. We are brought up in a culture that is obsessed with this idea of right and wrong choice. It's a culture of control. It believes that there is a you, a little separate, anxious ego in a box, who is the captain of the ship. And this little captain, this homunculus, this little man inside the head, is supposed to navigate the infinite, raging, unpredictable ocean of reality. And if he makes one wrong turn, the whole thing will be a catastrophe. Well, what a dreadful burden to place on oneself. It's no wonder we are all running around in a state of chronic anxiety. We are like a centipede that has suddenly been asked how it walks, and in contemplating the mechanics of its 1,000 legs, it stumbles into a ditch, completely paralyzed. But I want to propose something to you, a way of looking at this that might bring a little relief. What if I were to tell you that, in the grand scheme of things, you cannot make a wrong decision? Now, this sounds like nonsense, doesn't it? It sounds like fatalism. It sounds like I'm telling you that it doesn't matter if you become a bank robber or a saint. But that's not quite it. The problem, you see, is not in the choices. The problem is in the illusion of the chooser. Who is this you that is supposed to make the right choice? You think of yourself as something separate from the universe. Here is me, and out there is the world. Me is the part that thinks, that worries, that wills, that regrets. And the world is the thing that happens to me. But this is a complete hallucination. Imagine you are a leaf floating down a great river. The river comes to a bend and swirls into an eddy. Does the leaf decide to swirl to the left or to be carried to the right? Number. The leaf is part of the river. The swirling of the leaf is the swirling of the river. In exactly the same way, the you that you think is making the decision is not separate from the totality of life. You are a process. You are a function of the entire cosmos. The decision that is about to be made is not your private, isolated act of will. It is an act of the whole universe, flowering in this particular way at this particular moment as you. When you say, I have to choose, you are identifying with only a tiny, tiny fraction of the process. You are identifying with the conscious, intellectual part, the part that makes lists of pros and cons. But that part is just the foam on the surface of a very deep ocean. The real decision, the real impulse comes from a place far, far deeper than your conscious mind. It comes from the whole pattern of your organism, which in turn is a pattern of the whole environment, which in turn is a pattern of the entire history of the universe. So, when you stand at that crossroads, the choice that you will eventually make is the only choice you could have made. It is the spontaneous, natural, and necessary outcome of everything that has come before. The wrong choice, the path not taken, was simply an idea, a ghost. It never really existed as a possibility for you, the total organism, in that moment. We look back on our lives and we say, oh, if only I had taken that other job. If only I had married that other person. That was the wrong decision. But this is a game we play. We are tormenting ourselves with fantasies. We are comparing a lived, concrete reality, with all its textures, its pains, its joys, with a complete abstraction. You have no idea what that other path would have been. This is the grand joke. The universe is not waiting for you to make a mistake. It doesn't have a plan for you that you can mess up. The path you are on is the plan. The you that you are is not the driver of the bus, but simply the bus itself and the road and the landscape it moves through. The decision is simply the universe flowering in this particular way, and you are that flowering. So how can you go wrong? Because you see the very impulse that pulls you, let's say, towards the misty, uncertain path instead of the secure one. Where does it come from? You say, well, I thought about it. I weighed the options. Oh, did you? And who precisely is this I? Let's look at it. This I is a collection of memories, of prejudices, of habits, of anxieties. Your preferences, were they not given to you? By your culture, your parents, the breakfast you ate this morning, the state of your digestion, the entire web of your genetic history. When you say, I choose this, what you are really saying is, it has been chosen in me. Conscious attention is like a spotlight moving around a vast, dark room. The spotlight does not create the things it illuminates. They are already there. Your conscious decision is simply the spotlight landing on an impulse that was already forming in the dark, in the unfathomable wisdom of your total organism. You don't really know why you do anything. We are marvelous storytellers. After the choice has been made, after the river has already turned, we invent a splendidly logical narrative for why we made it. I decided to take the new job, you say, because it offered better long-term prospects and a 10% raise. But the real reason might be that the light in the new office building felt more pleasant, or that the person who interviewed you reminded you of a kind uncle, or perhaps just a sudden, inexplicable surge of, let's do this. And then we call that our decision. We take credit for it. Or if it turns out badly, we take the blame for it. And this taking of blame is the source of all the trouble. This is why so much of wisdom lies in what the Chinese call Wu Wei, which is not doing nothing, but non-forcing. It is learning to trust the organism, your whole self, your body, your gut feeling, that quiet, non-verbal intelligence that hums along beneath the racket of your anxious thoughts. This total intelligence is far wiser than the little anxious ego that fancies itself the boss. The centipede that thinks about how to walk stumbles. The human being who thinks, I must make the right choice, becomes paralyzed. But what happens if you just relax? What happens if you stand at the crossroads and instead of torturing yourself, you just listen? You listen to the whole of yourself. You feel the pull. You don't judge the pull. You don't say, oh, that's an irresponsible pull. I should want the secure path. You just notice it. You are not in control. You are the control. The control is not your anxious clenching. The control is the spontaneous, intelligent unfolding of the process. You are not making the decision. You are the decision. The decision is the total pattern of you, responding to the total pattern of the moment. And when you see this, really feel this, a marvelous thing happens. The anxiety drops away. You are no longer this poor, burdened, separate ego. You are the river. And the river is just going to flow. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't worry about going the wrong way. It just flows. So when the moment of choice arrives, you simply go. You take the path that is your path. You take the path that is the organic, necessary, and only expression of who you are. You act, you move, and you find that you can trust yourself after all. Not the you that worries, but the you that is your entire being, which is one with the entire universe. This you has never made a mistake. It doesn't even know how. But you will say, and this is a very reasonable objection, what about the disasters? What about the choices that lead to ruin, to bankruptcy, to divorce, to profound pain and suffering? Surely that was a wrong decision. But this is the most wonderful part of the whole puzzle. This is where the game gets really interesting. When you listen to a great symphony, a piece by Bach or Mozart, there are passages of profound tension. There are notes that clash, that are dissonant, that sound by themselves almost painful. Is that note wrong? Number? Of course not. It is absolutely necessary for the resolution that follows it. The dissonance is what makes the harmony beautiful. Without the wrong note, the right note has no meaning. Life is exactly like this. You cannot know light without dark. You cannot experience pleasure without pain. You cannot know up without down. They are inseparable. They are two ends of the same stick. We live in a universe of polarity, and in the same way, you cannot have wisdom without folly. You cannot have success without failure. The universe is playing a game of hide and seek with itself. The wrong path, the mistake, is just the universe pretending to be lost, so that it can have the marvelous adventure of finding itself again. The devil, you see, is always the angel in a mask. The wrong turn is just the right path in disguise. Look back at your own life. The moments you call your greatest mistakes, the terrible job you took, the disastrous relationship you fell into, the foolish risk that cost you everything. Were they not the very moments that defined you? Were they not the very fires that forged you? Were they not the precise, agonizing lessons you needed to learn in order to become the person you are today? That wrong decision, that period of suffering, taught you compassion perhaps, or resilience, or humility, or finally the wisdom to let go of this frantic need to control everything. If you had not taken that wrong path, you would have missed the point entirely. You would have remained an unsketched, uncolored-in, shallow version of yourself. You look at the map of your life and you see this dreadful, meandering detour, this part where you were lost in the woods. And you say, I should have stayed on the highway. But what you don't realize is that the lost in the woods part was the map. That was the whole purpose of the journey, to get lost, to feel the prickles, to be frightened by the shadows, and then to find your way out, or more accurately, to realize you were never lost at all, but were just on a different kind of path. It is not that wrong doesn't feel wrong. Oh, it does. That's part of the game. The dissonance in the symphony must feel tense, otherwise there is no resolution. The suffering must feel like suffering, otherwise no compassion is born from it. But in the grand scheme, in the total pattern, it is not wrong. It is simply the other side of right. You needed it. The you that stands here today, listening to this, is the product of all those wrong turns. And if you could, by some magic, go back and fix them, you would erase the very person you have become. You would, in effect, annihilate yourself. This is the great secret of integration. You do not become wise by attempting to live a perfect life, avoiding all mistakes. That is the path of a ghost. You become wise by integrating all of your wrong decisions, by seeing with clear eyes that the fool and the sage in you are one, that the sinner and the saint are playing a marvelous game. When you can look back at your worst mistake and without resentment, without cringing, say, "Ah, that. Yes, that was me. That was also part of the dance. Thank you." Then you're free. You are free from the past. You are free from the terror of the future, because you understand that the dance, all of it, the graceful parts and the clumsy, awkward stumbles, all of it is the dance. And you are that. So, what does this mean for the poor fellow we left standing at the crossroads, still paralyzed? It means breathe, a long, clear pause. It means you can relax. The universe is not testing you. There is no cosmic scorecard. There is no future you who is going to look back and shake his head in bitter regret, unless you decide to play that particular masochistic game. You are not a separate ego trapped in a bag of skin who has to solve the puzzle of your life. You are the whole field of events. You are the crossroads. You are the path to the left. You are the path to the right, and you are the walking. So, how do you choose? You watch the choice happen. You get very quiet. You stop the internal chatter, the pros and cons, the what-ifs, the I shoulds. You put all that noise aside for just a moment, and you feel. You feel which way the river is already flowing, which path, in a non-verbal total body sense, feels like you, which one has the juice, which one, even if it's terrifying, feels alive. When you are truly, hopelessly stuck between two things, flip a coin, a soft, chuckling tone. Now, I don't mean you should let the coin decide. That is just more superstition. No, you flip the coin, and the instant it is in the air, you will know which side you are hoping it will land on. And that is your decision. That is the organism, the deep, unfathomable you, finally making itself heard above the noise. The coin just gave it permission. Because you see, you already know, you always already know. The problem of the decision is the conflict between what you already know and what you think you ought to know. Let go of the ought. Ought is a ghost. It's a game of pretending to be someone you're not. The fear of the wrong decision is the fear of being in the wrong future. But there is no future. There is only this present moment. And in this moment, the decision is just this. The feeling of anxiety is part of it. The confusion is part of it. And the eventual step you take, that is part of it. So let go of the ridiculous, arrogant, and utterly exhausting idea that you are the captain of this ship, steering it all by your lonesome self. You are not. You are the ship, the ocean, the wind, and the stars. You are a function of the cosmos. You are a unique and unrepeatable pattern of the whole shebang. And that pattern can never ever be wrong. It can only be what it is. So walk, pause, choose, take the path. Take the misty path or take the secure path. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that you walk it, not in fear, but in curiosity. Walk it and watch, with marvelous, detached curiosity, where it goes, because it is all going exactly where it needs to.